Hi, my name is Phoebe Sargeant, and this is my culminating project for Big Bang Humankind, and I just wanted to explain it a little bit. I am doing a mock video of a YouTube video blogger who does her makeup and just relates it to science. I thought this would be an interesting way to show what I've learned and to really do something that I enjoy and to show you what I think is a talent of mine, which is doing makeup. So hopefully you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. It's a bit of an odd video, but I hope you enjoy, and thank you guys so much for a wonderful semester. Hey all you cool Schrodinger cats and kittens, welcome back to my channel! So today we're going to be doing a full face of makeup and skincare while relating it to science. But you're probably wondering at home, what does science have to do with makeup? Well, everything, in fact. Just as makeup trends are in constant flux, so is scientific discovery. Most of what you learn in school today actually wasn't proven until the 1950s. In fact, scientists couldn't even prove the existence of exoplanets until the late 1990s. Though I'm kind of surprised my head wasn't considered a candidate for an exoplanet because she's round. Even the father behind evolution, Charles Darwin, had no idea how DNA worked back in the mid-1800s. In fact, the most popular theory back then was homunculus, which basically believed that a little tiny human man lived inside of the head of a sperm. I am not kidding, guys. This is, again, like I said, the mid-1800s. Vending machines were invented. We're a few years away from Nintendo being invented. But nope, people still believe that little tiny human men existed inside of men's genitals. Trust you guys, science is wild, it changes all the time. But as I said, without further ado, let's get into some makeup. Let's change this Neanderthal of a face into a gorgeous Homo sapien. I'm not joking, guys. I could have some Neanderthal DNA. I mean, Homo sapiens and Neanderthals did mate, so she could be 4% Neanderthal. The first thing that we want to start off with is proper tool handling. Keep in mind that bacteria and viruses can live on your brushes and cause infections and even get you sick. Where bacteria is considered alive, viruses are not. They have some genetic material and a protein to pass it on, but they have to rely on a host cell to reproduce. They latch onto a cell in the human body and inject their own RNA for the cell to copy, basically exploiting the function of the cell to craft the virus's next generation. It's disgusting, and I don't want mine or your cells to be violated like that. Good news is that many of the virus's outer membranes are made of lipids. Therefore, they can be easily broken down by soap and water. So it is crucial that you wash your brushes at least once a week before makeup application. And please, please, wash your hands. I refuse to let any of you act as an accomplice to your own infection and cell death. However, sometimes it's good to have cells die, especially your own skin cells. So it's important to apply moisturizer on your face, just as I'm going to do now. You want to make sure that your cells look happy and healthy underneath all of that makeup we're about to put on. Somatic cells undergo a healthy process called cell division, known as mitosis, where one parent cell divides into two daughter cells, and the daughter cell actually has a copy of the DNA, and it's a full copy as well. So you have one cell dividing into two daughter cells. When the cell becomes too old to function properly, however, it will undergo a programmed cell death known as apoptosis, in which the cell breaks down and the remnants are actually cleared away by the immune cells. So both apoptosis and mitosis, when functioning at a normal level, create a homeostasis where your body has the proper amount of cells at all times. It is critical, however, to keep your skin cells healthy, though, because properly regulated, as the skin is in the first line of defense against fever and inflammation caused by bacteria and viruses. They will come to mooch off your body like that college friend who's been living on your couch for 3 weeks. And honey, it's not cute. All right, so next we're going to be applying the base of the makeup, the primer and the foundation. But much like the layers of the earth, the primer and the foundation are actually layered on top of each other and have the ability to move around. Since the core of the earth is so incredibly hot, it actually releases heat, which creates a convection current within the layers of the earth. I don't know, can you believe it? Rock is actually convecting inside the earth. The rock closer to the core gets heated quicker and rises to the surface, while the cooler rock then goes down below. So it creates sort of this circular motion, which actually allows for the movement of the mantle to happen. So that's what creates plate tectonics. However, one crucial compound the Earth needs for plate tectonics is actually water. Since rock would sort of be grinding against rock, it would be impossible for any movement to be happening. So the water actually seeps down from the ocean in these cracks that these little plate tectonics makes, and it creates the lubrication that's needed for this movement and really create this surfing motion that the mantle has with the outer core. See, even the Earth needs a little moisture. Therefore, you guys have no excuse. If you do not lie primer down before foundation, this same convection can happen on your face, which will make your foundation move around like the plates, and that's just not it. However, while cracks on the Earth can reveal evidence of early humans, since the African Rift Valley has opened up and has revealed a lot of evidence about early humans, you don't want that evidence showing through on your face that you might have some Neanderthal in your DNA. You know, what's great about human heads, that if there were planets, and we've already talked about how my head is a great candidate for a planet, they would have an inertia factor below 0.4. So the inertia factor actually talks about which ways that the materials are separated within a planet. So if you have an inertia factor of 0.4, that means all of your material is evenly spread throughout the planet. So it means the more denser material might be on the surface, it might be in the middle, it's all mixed together with the lower material. However, your inertia factor, which is also dignified by a K, if you have an inertia factor of below 0.4, like the Earth's is, that means that your more denser material is actually concentrated in the middle. So I like to think of human heads as sort of like a little planet that has an inertia factor below 0.4, because you guys get it? We have skin and then bone and then brain. Oh my God, these are the thoughts that keep me up at night. All right, so off camera, I just applied mascara and eyeshadow and just finished my base, to speed up the video. So now that we have this base, now we have to move on to brows. Now this is actually the moment where I think of how early bipeds had a protruding brow bone and their head actually went elongated in the back. Could you imagine if this forehead looked any longer than this? That would not be cute. However, the earliest hominids or human ancestors were actually determined by bipedalism. So in order to be considered an ancestor of humans, you had to walk on two legs, and they actually are able to discover which animals are bipedal is by looking at the way that the skull connects with the spine. If it's more of a 90-degree angle, sort of like ours is, that means that they had bipedal abilities. It doesn't mean that they always were bipedal. They might have climbed in trees and whatnot, but most animals that are bipedal have a much more 90-degree angle, with their head and their neck, as opposed to monkeys or chimps that have a much more slanted angle with the head and the spine combining. So a lot of these early hominids are actually associated with small brain size, but that does not correspond to the ability to make tools. Rather, it was the precision grip like this that made it possible to make tools, as opposed to the power grip like this as many hominids had. I mean, could you imagine trying to apply contour like this? No wonder Australopithecus went extinct. No one wanted to date her. But in all seriousness, though about 100 million years ago, Homo erectus was one of the first recent human ancestors to actually learn to hunt and create Acheulean hand axes, and were the first hominids to control fire. It's actually really cool and impressive. They would build fires in caves, and they would keep layering the fires on the same spots, creating hearths. They layered fires just like I layer on my makeup to cover my boring personality. However, around 400,000 years ago, there were about two Homo sapiens, two branches, one is us, the modern Homo sapien, and then the other is the Neanderthal. Homo sapiens had bigger brains, and Neanderthals were a bit more powerful, but both had a sense of altruism and a respect for the dead. They even both fashioned pieces of personal adornment from bones and were well known for cave art. However, it's really unfortunate because without writings or any understanding of how they conceptualize culture, we have no idea what these cave arts or what this personal adornment means. They could really be for anything. They could be for a funeral, or they could be for a ritual for a hunt. It's exactly like, how am I supposed to know to take a chicken out of the freezer for dinner when my mom doesn't leave a note? But it's hard for scientists when these sites are over hundreds of thousands of years old. Remember when I told you that scientific discoveries are constantly happening? Well, I guess some scientific discoveries will truly actually remain a mystery. And it's sad to say that it's the ones that really affect how we used to live as a culture and for Homo sapiens. All right, with the blush and the contour now laid, we are now going to be moving on to highlight. And highlight is my favorite part of the makeup process. I want my cheeks to be seen from space. I want the International Space Station to be like, oh my gosh, there are her cheeks. I love it. It can be so shiny. And actually, that makes me think, our highlighter is actually made up of stardust. I know, you're probably like, she's crazy. I'm not. Everything around us is made of stardust. I know you're scoffing there. It's exactly what I did when Dr. West in the Big Bang class told us that we're made of stardust. But in actuality, it's true. Every single element was once in a star. And that's actually because stars are able to create all the elements that we see around us. It's the only reason that we have elements above lithium and beryllium that were made in the Big Bang. So essentially what happens is when a star dies, smaller stars, when they die, they turn into red giants. So what happens is all of their energy just releases at once, they expand, and inside of the red giant, it becomes so hot. It becomes so hot that stellar nucleosynthesis can happen inside there. And basically what happens is atoms just smash right into each other and they can create proton chains, which then create new elements. In fact, the hottest of these stars can create all the way up until iron, which is has an atomic number in the 20s. However, for larger stars, the blue stars, the huge stars, they just explode into a supernova. And their explosion is so hot that they can create elements all the way up until uranium, which is atomic number 92. So basically these stars just act as big recyclers for the galaxy because they take in all these elements and then they explode it back into the universe, creating new elements to be used up in stars again, to be used in planets, to be used in solar system. That's actually how we were created, and how all elements in the Earth came here is through this star death, and that's why we have all of these elements. It's crazy. We are literally made of stardust. I think that's just the most wild thing I've ever heard, and I can't believe it. So when you put on that highlight, you know it is really made of stardust. Now you can go out and shine like a star, honey. All right, so now that we've reached the end of the makeup routine and we're looking fabulous, I just like to take a moment and just breathe. Makeup can cover a lot and make you feel super confident, but nothing helps like self-help. By taking in oxygen, we can relax the brain function and just be present in the world around us. Cellular respiration is actually how we convert glucose into energy. Thus, taking a moment to breathe can really help us get energized for the task ahead, like the 25-page paper I have due at the end of the week. Cellular respiration has three main processes. The first beginning with glycolysis, which splits the sugars into 2 pyruvic acids, 3 carbon units, and then 4 ATP. Now, ATP is the storage system of energy, where if we want to use energy, the phosphorus bonds are broken to release that energy into our body. Some scientists refer to as the energy credit card. Let's hope mine isn't suspended like my real credit card, because she reached her limit. But needless to say, the next cycle is the Krebs cycle, or the citric acid cycle. This is where oxygen is taken in to oxidize the pyruvates that were made during glycolysis. After this cycle, we then create NADH and CO2, where the CO2 is just released through exhalation. The NADH then enters the electron transport chain, where it donates an electron to the chain and then leaves a positively charged hydrogen molecule, which is then pumped into the intermembrane space, which then flows through the ATP synthase and turns ADP into ATP. The entire process yields 38 ATP, which makes cellular respiration a highly efficient process and a great way to just relax and create some energy This process actually is almost opposite to that of photosynthesis, where plants turn water and energy into oxygen and glucose. In fact, oxygen didn't even exist here until life was created on Earth, which then processes of respiration then created oxygen. So next time you're out, I highly suggest you go thank a plant, because they really need the support for carrying the entire weight of the human existence on their backs. All right, so this completes the whole tutorial showing you how science really relates to makeup. And thank you guys all so much for watching. And remember, science what? Changes, that's right. I hope to see you on the next one, where we hopefully confirm life on an exoplanet or exomoon, but that won't happen until we can guarantee a probe that is 100% bacteria free. So who knows how long that will take. Also, series was robbed. Bye!